product manager at hostelsnap.com, hostelmanagement.com. We got a question from Joyce Brower from Hostel Rotterdam. And she asked, hello, I have a question about internal communication with staff. How do you guys communicate and how do you deal with the little details that are so important but sometimes get lost in shift changing? When someone is not on duty but has the info that is needed. We use a logbook, but I guess we still need more. It's a great question, and it's why we built a number of communication features into Hostel Snap. Now, as I've said before, Hostel Snap is more than a property management system. It's actually more of a hostel management system. It takes care of all of those little details. So I'm actually on Hostel Snap on the demo site. Anyone can go there and play with that at any time. But now I'm in a feature called Hostel Log. And within the Hostel Log, you can log all of those little details that come up in the hostel, things that other staff in the future need to know. But there's some really cool follow-up features that Hostel Snap has so that staff don't necessarily have to pour through the log to kind of go through all of the different log entries from before. Hostel Snap will actually put those up front and center in front of the staff that needs to see them when they need to see them. So let me go through some of that so that it makes a little bit more sense. So obviously this is on the demo site, so there's a bunch of kind of nonsensical log entries that kind of go into the demo site. Just it's all test data so that you can kind of actually play with Hostel Snap with live data from a running hostel. But when somebody, one of the staff need to do a log entry, they click this button right here, add a log entry. And they can say in here, let's say, Joyce needs to move beds. And actually, instead of Joyce, I had Joyce on my mind because she was the one who answered the question. But I'll say Jake needs to move beds. And then I can say this, I can set a category for this log entry. I can say that it's a cleaning related note, a laundry related note, guest note, maintenance, all of these, but these are all customizable. The manager can manage these types of categories. So you might say have a specific category that's regarding lifeguarding. You know, if you have lifeguards at your hostel, you could actually have a type that is lifeguard. But I'm going to go ahead and say that this is just a guest note, and you know that I could just save this and it would become a log entry, and the subsequent staff could go pour through the log book or the log entries and see this. But that's kind of no better than what a log book would do, and you really have to rely on the staff to actually see the log entry. So what you can do in this particular case is a couple of things. If I know that this needs to be followed up at a particular time, I can actually set a time here, date and time, and what that will do is it will create a log entry or a task to be done just like this. So this was a task or a log entry that actually was pushed back up to the top based on a particular time. We are out of toilet paper. And the person who set that time set a time that was most appropriate for actually dealing with the problem. Maybe the only time that you can actually deal with the toilet paper is when you can actually go into the storage unit, but the storage unit is behind a dorm area and you don't want to do that during the nighttime. You can only do it during the day. So the person may have set the follow-up time at a specific time when the staff can actually deal with the problem. I'll go ahead and dismiss that particular one. And I'll go back and do my log entry again. And I'll say that this is a guest note. Now the other thing I can do, rather than doing a follow-up at a specific time, I can actually say that this is related to a specific guest. In this case, it's related to Jake Beautiful. Again, nonsensical names, it's on the demo site. But I can also pin this alert to Jake as a guest. So what that does is that anytime any future staff are dealing with Jake, his record, whether he's adding nights, whether he's checking in, or he's making a payment of some sort, Hostel Snap will show that alert when you're dealing with Jake. So Jake comes to the front desk, says, I'd like to pay for another night. That's the time when it's most appropriate to deal with this particular log entry. So like if I go over here to current guests and I said, here's Jake right here. If I go to his guest details, hostel log entry, Jake needs to move beds. So at this point, if I've already dealt with this particular issue, I could unpin this from the guest, then it would no longer show, or I could leave it there. Let me show you a couple of other places. If I go into add guest nights, and I'm going to add guest nights for Jake Beautiful. Unfortunately, Jake has reached the maximum stay, so I can't actually show you there. But let's just go ahead and put in a log entry for someone else so I can show that feature. I'll put in here and say Andrew. And we'll say that's a guest note. Let's say it's a cleaning note. And this is related to Andrew. Actually, I'll say it's Alexander. And I'm going to pin it to him, and I'll save changes. Oh, I did Andrew, but I said Alexander. But you'll get the idea. So now if I went into add guest nights for Alexander and said, okay, Alexander wants to add a night, come down. Now when I get to the payment page here, now that I've specified that I'm dealing with Alexander, it again shows up here, Andrew needs to move beds. So the whole purpose of the hostel log in Hostel Snap is to remind staff when it's appropriate, either based on time or based on when they're actually dealing with a specific guest, that thing from the hostel log from before. Now, you don't have to use either of those follow-up features. You could just put in a hostel log entry just to record something that happened in the hostel, and that frequently gets done as well. Not everything has to be done as a log entry. So I can unpin that. I'll cancel this transaction because we're not actually adding anything for Andrew. But anyway, I hope that explains how we deal with, at Pacific Tradewinds Hostel, how to deal with communication that is specific to the staff. Now, before I go, I'm going to show you one other tool that Hostel Snap has, mostly from a manager perspective in terms of assigning work to staff. And that has to do with, from the dashboard, you have these tasks. So tasks are anything that the staff need to do at a specific time. So this is take out the trash, and when trash is due to be done, it will automatically come up and turn this button red. That tells the staff, okay, something needs to be done. And once they've done it, they can mark that the task is done. So this is how that's done. When a manager is logged in, they can actually use this button to say add repeating task, and they can set what the task is. So I'll just say feed the fish. And I'll say that starts, let's say that it starts in 2 minutes, and it will be visible until it's done, or it could actually just stay on there for a certain amount of time. And I can say that needs to be done every day, and I could set an end date when it does, when it needs no longer needed. So I'll just go ahead and say end of the year, I don't expect the fish to be around. It's going to go back over to his normal home. And that enters in a task, feed the fish, and it will occur every day at 20:40, and it will repeat every day. So that's what a repeating task is. It can either be a one-time task or a repeating task. Managers can set those, and a task will appear for whoever is on duty at that particular time. Everything. So such as taking out the trash. Trash needs to go out at a certain time of day. Doesn't matter who's working on shift. They need to make sure that the trash goes out. All right. Staff assignments, on the other hand, are assignments that the manager gives to a particular staff person, and only that staff person. So the staff won't see that that assignment until they're actually logged in to Hostel Snap. So in this particular case, I'll say update social media. And maybe Sally is really the only one who's qualified to do the update the social media, whatever that means. I could also make this a repeating task so that Sally will do this, let's say, every 7 days. And then Sally will be the one who has to do it. So when Sally's actually logged in, Sally would see this task due right here, it would turn red, and it would tell her, okay, I need to do the social media update. Of course, it's not due yet. But feed the fish is due as of 35 seconds ago. I'll go ahead and say that I did the fish. And then clean out the refrigerator. That was due 8 hours ago. When the staff actually do it, they can mark that as done. So again, another tool to help you manage your hostel. This is all above and beyond the checking in guests, reserving guests, all of that sort of stuff that almost all PMS systems do. Hostel management is designed to actually help you take care of actually managing your hostel, all of those other things. So anyway, I hope that video helps. Hope it didn't go too fast, but if it did, feel free to email me, darren@hostelmanagement.com, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions you have about Hostel Snap. All right, thanks a lot.